Hey everybody, welcome to Moments Off the Mat with USA Wrestling. My name is Mike Clayton and I manage our National Coaches Education Program. Today we're joined with a special group. Today's call is with US Wrestling Officials Association, as well as some great coaches from our National Coaches Council and around the country. So we're going to start off with US Wrestling Officials Association rep Jacque Errett, who's going to be the leader and the guider for the game today. So Jacque, if you could give us a little intro about who you are, and we'll be able to get started.
Sure. My name is Jacque Errett. I have spent a number of years as a referee. So I've actually refereed 18 world team and Olympic trials in the 2012 and 2016 Olympic Games. So I work quite a bit with USWOA and also with United World Wrestling. And I'm also currently the head coach at Avon High School in Indiana. So I do coaching and refereeing.
Awesome. Thanks. Tom?
I'm also an official. I've been for about 1 billion years, and I manage the USWA website and have been working back and forth with Jacque on getting this game going.
Great. Jackie?
Hi, I'm Jackie Davis. I am the girls program director for Beat the Streets Boston and Beat the Streets Providence. So I'm still between those two organizations. And although I work with all of our kids in our community, my main goal is getting as many girls involved in this sport as possible.
That's awesome. Thanks. Danny?
Hi, Danny Struck. I'm on our National Coaches Council. I'm our state coach for Indiana State Wrestling Association and our vice president for our Coaches Association. This is like my 18th year on our state board and 18th year as head coach at Jeffersonville, Indiana. I've done a few overseas trips with USA Wrestling and just happy to be here.
Awesome. JD?
Hey, everybody. This is JD Robbins in sunny Florida here. I run the USA Southeast Regional Training Center, home of the Florida Jets. I do sit on the National Coaches Council, and I am National Greco staff. Glad to be here. Excited to play the game.
Awesome. Zach Dominguez?
Hi, how you doing? I'm Zach Dominguez. I am the chairman of the Coaches Council for USA Wrestling. I oversee a wrestling club here in Omaha, Nebraska, MWC Wrestling Academy, and I'm happy to be here and playing this game.
Awesome. Jess?
Hi, my name is Jessica Medina. I'm a former national team, world team member with women's freestyle. I retired in 2016, and since then I began coaching. I am currently the women's national developmental coach at USA Wrestling out here in Colorado Springs. Excited to be here.
Awesome. And Toccara?
I'm Toccara Montgomery. I'm a 2004 Olympian, two-time world silver medalist, and former head women's collegiate wrestling coach.
Awesome. Well, welcome to everybody. We're really excited. And Jacque Errett, I'm going to turn it over to you to get things rolling.
What our focus for this particular, exercise is going to be looking at just the evaluation of holds, like how do points get scored? And so I wanted this slide up to get started with because these are typically the 4 questions that we have to ask every time a situation happens. And based on your answer to these questions depends on who gets the points and how many points they get. So as we go through these, the next, I think there are 7 videos. These are the questions I'll encourage you to think about in terms of who's scoring and how it gets scored. You know, obviously who the attacking wrestler is important. But then the question is it standing or is it parterre? It's one or the other. Then does it go to danger or no danger? And then is it considered grand amplitude or not? I will caution you on this. There's up to 4 choices. And the 4 choices are shapes and colors. Make sure you read the actual score with the color in the box, the answer box, because people have a tendency, sometimes it says 4 red, but it's in the blue box. So it kind of throws people off a little bit. So make sure you look at the wording as you're going through this. Typically, you'll get to see this video at least 2 times. So I'll try to play it twice in the process. And then after we score, we can go back and watch it again. But you're only probably going to get to see it maybe 2 times before you have to score. All right, here we go.
Knew I never wanted to ref.
It happens really quickly, so it's actually a good it's a good test here to get started. This is a Greco-Roman match. I'll show it one more time because we only had two results, or two options scored here. Two people scored, so we had two people. One was 4 blue, 2 red, and one was 4 blue. Anybody like to tackle this first one?
I thought the hardest part right off the bat was like I noticed his navy blue singlet before I noticed the reds. Like if I was repping, that's tough to even find it.
I thought it was 4 blue all the way.
I'll try to tackle it here. This is what I saw. I saw red take a hold. I saw blue come through, roll it for 4, but then red hold, and then they work themselves back to their feet. That's what I saw.
The question is, so as you start to see is whose action was this? I guess that's the first one. You know,
but it looks like red action, but blue then took it away.
And I agree with that. I thought that red started it, but I thought blue then made the actual action that was taking this and goes.
And he took it away there, took him to his back, so that's 4 blue.
4 blue. The question then comes up is, does red score any points afterwards? And it's hard to, when I try to still right here, did he hold him on his back long enough when blue took him to his back? That's the question.
Well, I'm always in favor of the offensive wrestler. I think he put himself there.
I think red held him long enough.
I think red had him long enough.
I think two red.
I only saw blue. I don't think red fell in that position. I don't think he initiated anything to get him to that actual position for scoring.
I'm with you.
This is one of the problems we have with officials when we do video review is we use stop action, and with stop action in slow motion, you can make it look like anything.
Exactly.
I thought it was 2 blue all the way, no red.
I agree.
If I was scoring this, I would score this only as 4 blue, just because blue took him to his back directly and he didn't hold him there. So, but that's the part we look at, and I think that's the part too. And and Tom, made a great point there of, when we do this in slow motion and you stop it at certain things, it makes things look different than what they are, especially in slow motion. But seeing this live and he goes, like, if he would roll him through completely through to the other side or hold him there longer, I think I could potentially justify the 2 red part. But when I watch this, like, I feel like the best score out of this situation here is just 4 blue.
All right. We keeping score, Dominguez?
Yeah, you're up by 1.
There we go, buddy.
Yeah, but you didn't answer the question. You didn't get it in time, JD. So you really get 0.
I did. I scored. I've got 2 tablets in front of me. I pressed the other one. It doesn't the one that counts. The other one does.
Let's go to the next situation here. Know that there's a little bit of a time gap in however long it takes YouTube to pull this up, so that you might only get to see it once. Hopefully I'll get it through twice. Most of the actions aren't too complicated, so there's not going to be like a series of scoring. It's going to be kind of the initial score, right? What you see, scoring that part. So here's the next one. Again, watching this, who wants to go through this one? Why they scored it for? Jess, what do you think?
Blue steps in for the action. He's got kind of like a Merkle, feet to back, right to back, danger. It's easy call, 4 blue.
So if we go down in this position, is that a takedown?
No.
No. It is in folk style, but not in freestyle.
Correct. That's the biggest part too. Sometimes when you switch over from one place to the next, especially working with parents, they wrestle so much folk style that when they get here, this looks like, oh, this is pretty close. And even then in folk style, this is probably already 2 points for a takedown.
Honestly, that's what got me. I haven't coached one non-folk style match since last year. So I was like, oh, her hands are down.
Yep. So I thought JD made a good point here. This is still considered standing position. And so standing. So if we go through those series of questions that we had before, so it was blue's action. And I like to answer the first question. Was it grand amplitude or not?
No.
And so no grand amplitude. So your only choices for answers are 4 points or 2 points. And then Did she go directly to danger? Yes. So it's 4 points. If it's not, it would have been 2. You know, that's essentially kind of working your way down in that scenario of questions.
Zach, that's 2-1.
Okay, 2-1.
Dominguez, that is.
Oh yeah, You're gonna lose this one.
Just for the record, I hit the button before the video started.
Well, that's your best chance, actually, Danny.
Yeah, maybe.
So we got a few variations and calls, and this is kind of what I enjoy doing with this part a little bit too. And so we had a little bit of a selection of, you know, between 4 points and between the other 2 options in this case. So again, showing the video one more time here. So I guess let's go through the first question. And again, I like to start with the grand amplitude or not. Was that considered grand amplitude?
Yes.
No.
I believe there was grand amplitude, but he didn't land in danger, so you got to check off the 4.
Agreed.
Yep.
I think that's the part when reverse body locks, about any time that you see he gets up and he takes him that direction over the top. I guess for me, when I'm looking at grand amplitude, the one thing I look for is, does his hips get above his chest in this action? And does Red's hips go over his chest?
Mm-hmm.
And for me, I would say, yes, it did. So to me, that makes it, now we're looking at grand amplitude. So now if it's grand amplitude, our only 2 point choices are either 5 points or 4 points. And then the next thing you look at is, does it land in danger? And if we go back and watch this again, rotates all the way over to it might land on an elbow, but the chest is down. And since the chest is down, that's not danger. So we have grand amplitude, no danger. So this case, this is only going to be 4 points for blue. So again, that's kind of the process in terms of going through of evaluating that. And I would say this particular situation is almost, I would say this happens more than not with this reverse lock. Mm-hmm. They over rotate it and it comes out to be 4 points, and that's because it's a grand amplitude with no danger. If they can get him to land in danger, it's almost a guaranteed 5 points in this action. Try another one. Only 2 choices here. Make it easier. Hey, 50-50. Mm-hmm. That's always fun. Right, Jess, I hope you don't mind. I'm going to call on you.
Okay.
Jess, what did you score, and why did you score it?
I scored 4 red. So here, she steps in. So blue initiates, but blue initiates, red changes directions, and then puts her straight to a danger position, straight to her back. Okay.
We're looking at a situation that we as referees have a tendency to miss on numerous occasions with this. And this particular situation is one of the ones that we put on a lot of, at least recently, and which would have been on probably this year, but I know it was on last year, was because this one we have a tendency to miss because of how it looks. Let me ask a question. When we're evaluating the points, who do we look at for standing versus parterre? Do we look at the defending wrestler, or do we look at the attacking wrestler?
Defending wrestler.
The defending wrestler. So that's the question when we look at this. So we said blue is the defending wrestler. Where is blue at when the action starts?
On her knees.
So the action starts, and I think this is the part we see this. So blue is on her knees in this part. So the action, it looks misconceiving because we see red standing. Mm-hmm. And so we think this is a standing action. But many times when they take that leg attack and then they go to their back in a process something similar to this, it typically, gets missed a lot because we see this part of her standing versus actually the defending wrestlers on her knee. So probably the best score here would have been 2 for red out of this.
Can you go slow right from there?
Can I
does
go
that
slow?
knee come up? Does she go knee to back, or does the knee come up?
The knee may come up a little bit, but she started the action with her on her knee to start with. So unless she lifts her up and takes her to her back, like I'm going to score this as 2 points. Because if you, like, just in this process, she's already started the action. I wouldn't consider that standing position.
Okay.
So, but no, that's a great point.
Makes sense.
That's a great
Sounds like
point.
you
And
got
it
it wrong,
happens
JD.
so quickly that it gets easy to get missed. What's up, Zach?
I just think it sounds like JD got it wrong. So
I did get that one wrong.
All right, let's try another one here.
Surprised you guys didn't have a leg foul in there.
Oh, 2 blue. Interesting. Okay. Very good. Very good. Who would like a crack at this one?
I went 2 blue because although blue initiated, although blue got the lock, red initiated a half-hearted attempt at a throw, which brought that action to their feet. So it turned into a counter for blue for me. So I awarded 2.
Okay. Anybody have a different opinion?
Correct.
You can't slip to your back. It becomes a counter. It's 2.
Anybody have a different opinion? Because there were a few of you that when I looked, scored it a little bit different. So the risk, somebody scored risk, but somebody also scored 4 blue. Who scored 4 blue, and why did you score 4 blue?
I thought 4 blue because I thought I don't really consider it a slip. I consider it a desperate attempt to me going down. Like, so I'm not really calling it a counter. I'm calling it a, when a kid doesn't know what else to do, so he just flails. I don't know. I saw it as a last ditch effort to what he was already doing to me. I think he would have been there regardless.
And blue did establish the lock on their feet.
Yeah, I put 2 blue because red initiated, but blue countered, and you can't. If red initiated, blue can't score 4 off of it.
I think
I think blue initiated and red just tries something, but blue already had the lock and he was already initiating. My thought. I've been proven wrong every round.
Yeah, I think this is a great question here because I can tell you it depends on which side of the coin you're on here as a coach. Depends on what you would want this scored as. If you're a Reds coach, you're saying best 2 blue. If you're a Blues coach, you're saying this is 4 blue. And as you go through this, I think the part that, when I look at it, I'll be honest with you, like if I'm going to score this, I would score this 4 blue. Largely from the standpoint of what Danny explained. The whole action started, I guess, in my opinion, by blue going up to the body. And if I'm going to the body and I'm getting you locked and you're in the process, like what else do you have right now to do? Now, and I would consider this Red's attempt if I would have seen blue come off a Red's hip somewhere. But when I watch this, I see red literally just go straight down to his back from that position. Had he taken that action away from him, I guess in my opinion, he would have moved him somewhere. He would have popped his hips off of him at least at some point to make this look like it was a better attempt than what he had. But because he was in the process of going down, he said, I'm going to have to try something.
Well, I think he probably would have got it if he didn't.
And if I didn't score. What's that?
He said he probably would have got it if he didn't get leg fouled.
Well, it's a freestyle match.
Very true.
He's like, caution, leg foul.
See that leg in there?
Yeah.
What did it end up being scored as? Did it end up being scored for 4 for Cologne?
It went 4 for Cologne. That's what it got scored. Because typically internationally, when they look at this, they're looking strictly at the attacking wrestler. The attacking wrestler came in, made a lock, and never really changed direction in this process. They went straight. He came in straight in. He made an attempt to his back. It'd be like a double leg body lock. I go double leg body lock, and I'm going to my back, and I try to take you, but I don't get it. Do we say we're only going to give you 2 because you made a good attempt, but you're already getting double legged? this is one of those situations where I think depending on which side of the coaching part you're on, depends on how you're looking at this getting scored.
Just because I'm curious, Zach, did anybody when Joe scored 4 here, did the opposing coach throw the block?
No.
No. Okay.
No, that would be a really risky.
Yeah.
I mean, and let's put it this way: if this made it 10-0, then they might have challenged it just
right.
Because what's the worst thing that can happen? But if he's still in the match, do you really want to lose another point when this is pretty close? In that case, so no, they didn't challenge this particular situation. So let's go back to the 4 questions that we had to start with. So the attacking wrestler, I think that one's really clear here. Let's go to the next one. Would you consider this grand amplitude or not?
No.
No.
So everybody agrees no grand amplitude. So now our choices are either 4 points or 2 points. That's our choices. Next question. Did this go to danger?
Yes.
Yes.
What's considered danger?
His back.
Elbow.
Elbow, hip.
Although his elbow never hit, his back broke 90.
Yeah. So this is good. So danger position has to be essentially, there's a certain criteria that has to be met with this. You either have to be touching an elbow, a shoulder, or a head, and you have to be less than 90-degree angle. So you have to hit an elbow, shoulder, head in order for it to be considered danger. Does he hit an elbow, shoulder, or head in this process?
No.
Nope.
So if he doesn't hit an elbow, shoulder, or head, and it's not grand amplitude.
Boy, that's a lift. I'm giving him 4.
Yeah, look how close he is. I just find it hard to believe that's going to be 2.
This is probably 50% gets called correctly. Because anytime people see any lift in a rotation, no matter how big or how low it is, people have a tendency to score 4 points because what was a lift in a rotation. Breaking 90 doesn't necessarily make it danger. It's like that lift and return, that big lift we just had with the grand amplitude and no danger. He rotated, he exposed, and he went, rotated, his back went beyond, less than 90 degrees in that. He just rotated all the way across, so he didn't actually land technically in danger. We're having conversations with the referees regarding this too, as well. Is like, we try to keep everything based on the questions, because if a coach, I know every person here comes to the table and has a question, I probably need to listen to it because you guys are well respected. When you come and I have to provide an answer to you, how is my answer going to be provided to you as a referee? And if you said, how did you score that 2 points? I'd say, I said, it wasn't grand amplitude and it didn't go to danger. So if it's not grand amplitude, it's got to be 4 or 2. And since it's not in danger, it's got to be the lower of the 2 point values, which is 2 points.
So my question is, if I'm I'm Blues coach, I walk up to you to I throw the block. My question would be to you was, where was he in danger? Would that then lead down that path? Or how do I ask that question if I'm Blues coach?
That's a good question. I think if I came up and number one, you initiate the challenge, you toss the block in and you say, I don't think he went to danger.
Got it. Okay.
And that's what I would leave it as. I don't think he went to danger. They'll go look at it. And then, and sometimes these situations, you almost have to go frame by frame a little bit, because if that elbow right there drops,
then it's 4
right there, then it's 4 points.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing as a coach, you have to keep in mind when you're doing the challenges, particularly at the national level, is there's only one camera. Did this video land within this camera view where they can actually see that? If you're not sure if they can see that or not, then it might be difficult to get it changed, because if they can't tell it's different on the video, they're probably going to keep with the score that was called. That was the World Championships, or maybe the Europeans. And literally this is when they were only using one camera, and it was from the mat chairman's table. And it was a head-on shot of the wrestlers were here in parterre. It was Greco, and the camera was straight into him. The wrestler on top was working and was going for a lift, and I could see it from the side. I was just watching the match. The bottom wrestler was pinching his legs against the other guy's legs. Everybody in the world could see it, but it was not on the camera view. So it didn't get called. you know, even because it was the only view angle they had to watch, and that was it. You know, now internationally, the World Champ, they have like multiple camera angles and come from a lot of different views to look at it, so it makes it a lot better.
It seems so like you just watch it and you go, wow, that has to be lots of points.
Yeah, that's, you know, like as a coach, I would just be like, hey, it's all right, don't worry, 2 points, it's fine. You're up 4 points. Or you just tell them it was, hey, don't worry, it was the right call. You know, like even if you don't think it was the right call, you tell them it's the right call. That calms them down from that standpoint. They're like, oh yeah, okay, good. Let's go back. Yeah, that was a good call. No, it wasn't, but you know, it got them back mentally focused again and not worrying about what the call was. Yeah, I think that's the one thing I've always noticed that I've always been interested with watching international wrestlers is you'll call them for passivity or call them for something, and they just look at you and shake their head. All right, thanks, and they just go right back to it. There's no worrying about what the call was. They just kind of move through it and it never really bothers them a whole lot. All right, great. So here's the last question, the last video.
Ready?
Tiebreaker, JD.
Okay, buddy.
It is.
I still would have scored that before he lifted him. Boo, that was good. Good for the last one. That's tough.
Ooh.
Oh, God. I'm not going to finish out of time now.
Get out time.
No, I just picked one.
JD, what'd you go with?
2 blue, 1 red.
Damn it, we scored it the same.
I don't even think I got it in. I was enamored with it.
It's a good video that happens really quick.
Yeah, I'm sticking with my call, but yeah, 2 blue, 1
yellow.
I saw, you know, as Red drops to his knees and he makes the attempt to score, Blue counters with a neck wrench or neck whip right there, steps over Red, and they're already on their knees, and then Red comes out on top. So I go 2 blue, 1 red.
Good call.
I did the same.
I agree with you, Dominguez.
Yeah, this is really good. Yeah, hey, we're getting you wristbands and a whistle for the if Fargo happens, you're in.
I find it really interesting that they have to make that call in such a quick amount of time. Isn't that kind of cool, Zach, that they have to make that call in such a quick amount of time?
Well, the problem is if I can do it, you can do it.
Now, this is a valid point right here. Like, this is very similar to that situation we had before. You know, Blue was kind of the attacking, but then Red drops the leg, but in the process, yeah, it gets chin whipped, head wrenched, whatever you want to call here. But when he does, notice that Red is on his knee when that action starts. And so they're in parterre. So parterre is ground wrestling. And again, we're looking at from the defensive wrestler standpoint. So in this case, Blue gets the 2 points for the first part, and then Red comes up on top at the end for only 1 point. So they couldn't get 2 points out of this because second to score in this scenario and just came up on top. So
personally, it's a lot harder to score when I'm not coaching them and I'm not invested in either one. There's just kind of a feeling you have on the mat, and you knew like, oh, we did that. I taught her that move. I taught him that move. Like I know that was his action. And here I'm like, did he know what he was doing, or did he fall down, or did he slip? And that made it, you know, I never ref, harder to choose when there was no personal investment in the match for me.
Where one, knowing where the video review camera is at, and then what the ref is seeing, and then where you're at, compared to where the action took place, and trying to think through in such a short amount of time, what are they seeing that maybe I didn't see, or what did I see from this angle? And if we did video, would you even be able to see it from my perspective? That's kind of something I was thinking about.
I see a lot of video challenges that are really not good challenges simply because of the camera angle. And coaches need to become very aware of where the camera is as their coach, and you know, how it's set up, especially like in Fargo. Generally, it's right by the chairman. So the angle of the camera is going to be pretty much what the chairman sees.
What's the benefit for us to get better at this as coaches and officials?
I think the betterment is going to be, we understand the point of view of the referee better. Like for instance, shoulder, elbow, head. You know, I'd like to think that I'm pretty close to knowing a lot, but I didn't know that. And now it makes me look at every judgment that I didn't throw the block on, because now I'm looking more inside. Like, man, I could have probably blocked something that I could have, but I didn't. And then vice versa. Now, if I already know what the referee's thinking or how they think, I can better throw a better block. So when it does come out, it's going to be a good question to the referee. It's not going to be an argument of, like you said, Coach Clayton, this is my kid, and I know that I did this, and I've showed him that move per Danny and all that jazz. But it'll be a distinguishment of black and white, which is what I think referees would want. Make it much easier for them to go, hey, this is exactly why, and then we understand and we move forward.
You know, I had an interesting comment from a coach last year. He came up and said, "That's my kid's best move." Like I'm supposed to know that. But you know, Zach's criteria, those 4 criteria that he introduced right at the beginning of the videos, is really what we as officials know. And if coaches can learn to do that, I think that's going to help you guys too.
I think one of the things as you guys go through, and just from having been on both sides of it, I guess, because coaching as well, knowing the rules like certainly helps me attack situations like what do we need to do differently when we're coaching this position versus, you know, normal. Like if you know this is how this is going to get scored, how do you drill something or change your technique a little bit in order to get the maximum amount of points in that scenario? You know, and then maybe that's, and I think that's part that's probably helped me the most, at least from looking at it and then deciding, is this situation even worth having a conversation with about, you know, do I even need to go to the table and ask a question or not? Anytime you can take an opportunity to just, you know, learn as much about how things get scored and what they're looking at, and then trying to, you know, go in that, I think it's always a benefit. There's some tough calls, and they literally can go either way. And sometimes having that ability, sometimes I'm hoping that coaches will challenge. It's like, please throw the challenge block because I really want to look at this again, because I had to look at it really quickly and I'm not sure if I got it right. And there's been numerous times where I'm like, I get done with a match, I'll walk up to the head table and be like, hey, can you pull this video up? Because I really need to see this again.
Well, Mike and I were talking about this the other night. Sometimes you throw points as an official, and after you get through it, you think, you know, there's a better set of points there.
For me, I think something that really stuck out was you talking about international wrestlers kind of dismissing if they're getting called for passivity or cautions, and just kind of like not worrying about scoring points or still being within the match. And that's something that as a coach, I think is really important to be teaching. Like, obviously we're going to support our athletes and we'll fight for things that we think were maybe called wrong or that from an angle couldn't be seen, but also that like we need to be teaching them that regardless, it shouldn't be left in the referee's hand, and to continue to chase points and to continue to try and wrestle.
There was like an international coach that I actually, every tournament I would be at, like I loved watching him coach. And it was a freestyle, no matter what would happen. And he would look over, and sometimes his athletes would get super like look at him like, what was that call? And he would just do this. It's okay. Like that. And they would just like immediately calm down and get right back to wrestling. Like he had a way of just calming, because he knew like, this isn't a good challenge. Don't worry about it. It was, you know, but he didn't have to say anything. He just like looked at him and was just like, it's okay. You know, when I'm coaching in high school, like how do I keep those kids relaxed and not get nervous through that process? Because then many times they can come back and, you know, freestyle, you know, as you do, a takedown and leg lace, and you're right back in this thing. You could be down 8 points and be back up 10-8 after an exchange. So, you know, keeping them focused and not let them get, I think, and I just have watched some great coaches over the years to see that and just how that works too.
There's a great book out by Chris Voss. Just so happened I was reading part of it today, and he talks about a scenario where a $10 bill falls down and 2 of us are walking down the street. The limits to this game are the person who picks up the $10 gets to make an offer of how they're going to split the money. And the other person only gets to say yes or no, I agree to that.
If it's a coach, I'm keeping it.
So the question is about fairness, right? In almost every situation, most people would say, well, you know what? There's 2 of you. There's $10. The fair thing to do would be to split it in the middle. But if Zach had said, okay, Mike, I'm the one holding the $8. I'll give you $2. For me, I might say, well, that's not fair, but getting that $2 is a lot more fair than me getting 0. And I think in the challenge block equation, we may think we're right, but we may end up being dead right, because if we challenge at the wrong time and it costs us momentum, costs us the points, or even if we get the points, but it just changed the tone and the tempo of the match, we can end up costing our athletes even if we're right. So if we can check our egos and then be able to provide those resources in those fractions of a second that make it so tough, hopefully this is where the practice is taking us. And thank you so much for the experts that we had here today, sharing your experience and sharing your styles. Jacque, Tom, for what the U.S. Wrestling Officials Association is doing and has done in the past 6 years since I've been with USA Wrestling, that I've seen our relationships grow. Thank you for all of that. And to our coaches, hopefully we'll be able to keep this up, and maybe we'll be able to put a steak dinner on the next one if you guys are willing to join us.
Oh, man.
All right. Any vegans in the group? Okay, we'll come up with a different option.
Yeah,
No problem. Thank you all so much for joining us. This has been another Moments Off the Mat with USA Wrestling. Thanks to this amazing panel of supporters and folks in our wrestling community. Hopefully you'll join us again soon. And Jacque, we'll be putting the link up so folks at home can play the game as soon as they're done with this video, right?
It'll be another set of situations very similar to this. And I have a little bit of an intro video. So if you don't want to watch the intro video on how to play the game, simply skip ahead. But I put a video there just for people who haven't played the game before. So it gives you a little bit of input into what to look for and how to do that.
Awesome. Well, we love you guys. Thanks so much. Take care and have a great day.